peptides fit within that integrative functional medicine world really well. And so that's, again, part of the reason they're so popular is because people are pulling away from traditional medicine. We sit down and just have a hard talk about food and the relationship with food, because weight loss is 70% food, right? It's what you're eating is what's killing you.
Tesamorelin, best by far.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what makes that one better than the others?
And Tesamorelin has essentially a time release mechanism to it. All these release in a pulsatile fashion. Tesamorelin is the shortest acting, but very potent. And you get maybe like 5-minute push.
What risks or side effects should people understand with this?
Growth hormone is a growth hormone. Excess growth hormone has the potential to feed tumors. So if you have a tumor in your body, some of them are growth hormone consuming tumors, right? And so if you give your body extra, potentially you could grow a tumor very quickly.
Which peptides will fall into this category? Peptides are getting a lot of attention right now. You've probably heard of them from the gym, social media, or biohacking circles. People talk about peptides as tools for recovery, fat loss, injury healing, and longevity. But what actually are peptides? How do they work in the body, and what risks should people understand before using them? My guest is AJ Rimmasch, nurse practitioner and founder of Copper Rock Clinic here in Southern Utah. AJ works with patients on hormone optimization, metabolic health, and wellness therapies, including peptides. In this conversation, we break down what peptides are and what science says, and the risks people should understand before jumping into the world of peptide therapy. So let's get into it. Hey, really quick, thanks so much for listening. The purpose of this podcast is to help people understand that they have the ability to choose the direction of their life, whether that be business, finance, relationships, health, any of that. I believe that this podcast will give you the tools to take the right steps, but we need your help. Please be sure to like, to comment, to subscribe. It helps us to bring on more guests and continue to get better. Thank you so much. AJ, thanks so much for coming on. I'm excited for this one because this is just kind of a new world I've come across recently, and I've been kind of going to that rabbit hole as well and seeing there's so much information out there and just trying to figure out what's real, what's not. And so I appreciate you being here, and we can kind of dive deep into these so I can have a good understanding of how this stuff works.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
For sure. I'm happy to be here. This is a good topic, and a lot of people are really interested.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
For sure. It's interesting because I've been, I just went to a kind of a health, I don't know, like it was a full day event on health, and we talked a lot about this. And it's funny because a year ago, I just didn't even know that it existed. I had no clue about it. And then all of a sudden it kind of just popped up, and now I'm starting to see it everywhere. And so I don't know if that's just me or if it's just growing at a fast pace now.
It's growing, and it's the algorithm too. Once you see it,
then it
shows up everywhere, right? But it is growing for sure.
So I wanted to start just kind of simple, like what is a peptide?
Yeah, I mean, in short, a peptide is a short chain of amino acids. A full chain of amino acids is a protein, right?
Okay.
And anything shorter than a full chain is a type of peptide. There's a lot of peptides that people maybe know about. They're just not familiar that they are peptides. So insulin is a peptide, right?
Okay. Didn't know that.
I had no idea. Right?
Yeah, no clue.
Growth hormone is a peptide as well. So it can segue into some of the hormones, but they are peptides by definition, right? And so, yeah, that's what a peptide is. It's literally just a short chain of amino acids, and different sequences of each amino acid will create different peptides.
Got it. So how are peptides different from like, for the growth hormone one, like steroids or things like that? How are peptides different?
Yeah. So peptides, most of the peptides we're going to talk about today are actually supporters of your own body's functions.
Okay.
And where hormones like testosterone or anabolic steroids like DECA or Trin, the really big ones for bodybuilders, they are superseding your natural production of your hormones, where most peptides that we are going to talk about are actually supporting your body's ability to make more of growth hormone per se. And then some of them are just helping stimulate certain types of pathways in your body for healing.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Why do you think these are getting so much attention right now?
Because they work. Okay, that's a big one, right? And we see it day in and day out. People are coming in and say, well, I took this peptide and my shoulder got better, or I took this peptide and I lost weight. Even the GLP-1 weight loss, peptides. They're peptides.
Yeah.
Right. People don't know that the semaglutide is a peptide. I should have mentioned that one too. Really popular.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, they're really popular because a lot of people are taking them, and they work.
Can you give me, before we kind of get into it a little bit deeper, can you give me kind of a high level of what the categories, I guess, would be of peptides we typically see?
Yeah, so healing is a big one, and we see that quite a bit. And there are multiple peptides within the healing category. Growth hormones, another category where we have growth hormone stimulators or secretagogues, and they really improve natural growth hormone output. We have immune system peptides to help modulate your immune system, make it work better, or function at a more optimal level. Because some people's immune systems are overreactive, and some of these peptides can actually help it act more normal, which is really neat. And so that's another category. And then we have the categories in weight loss as well. And then there's categories of peptides that affect the mitochondria. So those are your little energy powerhouses of the cell. And they help make mitochondria work better. Those are like the biggest categories that everyone's looking at.
Got it. And then there's just there's different types, I guess, within each category.
So there's actually 3,000 peptides that your body is always utilizing, plus like that we know of, right? And we're going to talk about a handful of them. Really. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the first one I'd like to start with is kind of the growth hormone. I've been hearing a lot about that. I've had some friends who have had good success, with it. And I think at first I was like, is it a steroid? Is it not? But as seeing the progress that they've had, it's like, okay, that's not the same as what steroid would be. What peptides would fall into that category?
Yeah, actually, growth hormone peptides are one of my favorite categories. Really popular, Semaglutide. It's everywhere. You can actually get it from a lot of pharmacies still, and works really well. There's Tesamorelin, which is the best by far. And we can talk about that later, but that's one of them. CJC 1295 is another one that's been gaining a ton of popularity. And then Ipamorelin, or Ipamorelin, however you want to say it, is a great one. And then the last one that I really like as well is called MK677, or Ipamorelin. And those are the most common or most popular, popularly available growth hormone peptides.
And how do those work in the body?
So they all work slightly differently. Several of them fit within the category called GHRH, receptor agonists. So that's growth hormone releasing hormone receptors. So they trigger growth hormone release from the pituitary. And so they are mimicking the release from the hypothalamus in the back of the brain and trigger that pituitary to release the growth hormone. And so that's like Semaglutide, Tesamorelin, CJC 1295.
So is it like sending a signal to it to say, hey, create a little bit more of this?
So it upregulates the signaling. The pituitary responds exceptionally well to the upregulation, and you get more growth hormone out of it. 10 to 20%, maybe 30% more. So yeah, that's that category. And the other category that's really popular is the ghrelin mimetic. Have you heard of ghrelin?
I have not.
Ghrelin's your hunger hormone. So if you hear your stomach growl, that's ghrelin. And ghrelin mimetics also trigger growth hormone in a similar pathway, just slightly different than the GHRH pathway. And that's why nutritionally, forever, I've been telling people you need to take 2 to 3 hours off of all food before you go to bed. So you go to bed on a nearly empty stomach so you can actually trigger more of your natural growth hormone that way by stimulating ghrelin.
Interesting.
Yeah, so those are the two biggest categories that we can go over, and I think that really covers the majority of what's even available.
So you said Tesamorelin, best by far.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what makes that one better than the others?
So Tesamorelin was developed from Semaglutide, which is kind of the original growth hormone secretagogue, and Tesamorelin has essentially a time release mechanism to it. All these release in a pulsatile fashion. Semaglutide's the shortest acting, but very potent. and you get maybe like a 5-minute push of GHRH to the pituitary
With Semorelin.
with Semorelin.
Okay.
That 5-minute push, though, has downstream benefits, right? And so you still get great benefit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tesamorelin will stimulate for 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up with just more growth hormone. That's a longer push, right?
Okay.
And so that's why it's one of the better ones available. They actually use it in AIDS patients that are towards the end of life. And, luckily we don't have a lot of those anymore because we've really done well with AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
But they use that in the end of life to help get rid of excess visceral fat.
Okay.
That under muscle fat that's really bad for you, surrounds your organs.
Yeah.
And it helps clear that. So that's what we're all looking for, is that fat reduction from growth hormone peptides.
Got it. But so why would it be better for it to last 2 hours as opposed to 5 minutes?
More growth hormone, the better,
Okay.
right? So that's what you're getting. You're just getting a better release of growth hormone with Tesamorelin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're taking the same amount, it's more effective. We're getting more results from it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that
you'll
makes
just
sense.
see a longer duration of growth hormone release
Okay.
over the night. Growth hormone really sets in a great sleep pattern as well. So you'll hit deep sleep and you'll sleep deep longer. So if you're a tracker, like I track, I have 2 right now that I'm testing out, right? And I see an extra 30 minutes plus of deep sleep when I'm on growth hormone peptides.
Okay.
That's huge. That's restorative, right?
Does that mean with that span of them, does that make it important as far as time of day that you take them?
Yeah, nighttime.
Nighttime.
You want to take it at night because really within 10 to 30 minutes of taking growth hormone peptide, you're going to get that GH push.
Okay.
And naturally, your circadian rhythm runs with GH high at night. And so that's what we want to stimulate and mimic the circadian rhythm.
Got it. So is it like right before bed or a few hours before bed, or what do you
10 to 30 minutes before bed.
Okay.
Hormone's pretty quick acting. And so like 10 minutes, you take it, you go lay down. Right?
Okay. So we want that growth hormone in there while we're resting, while we're sleeping. We want that to be stimulated then.
Yeah. Some people will take it during the daytime just to stimulate some growth hormone when they're really in like a bulking phase. They're trying to get bigger, build more muscle mass. They want more growth hormone. It's going to help, right? And so they'll take a dose in the daytime. They'll like split it up and do half in the morning, half at night, to really drive that growth phase. For sure.
Is it kind of an everyday thing?
Yeah, generally every day. I tend to have my patients do 5 days on, 2 days off.
Okay.
Just to give the body a little break. And it seems to work really well that way. And there's not a lot of change by just dropping down from 7 days to 5 days.
Okay. And is it like for the injection, is it like just like an insulin needle or something like that?
Yeah, generally it's going to be insulin needle,
Okay.
10 to 20 units, depending on which peptide it is.
Okay.
And the concentration, because different brands have different concentrations of peptides.
Okay.
But oftentimes it's in that 10 to 20 unit range.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like those little needles because you don't feel them.
Oh, they're baby needles.
It gets in your head, I know,
Oh,
and we'll talk about the VPC one in a minute. But I know when I was doing those, and I had my sons there, and I was like showing them, and they were freaked. I mean, I used to be freaked out about them as well, but I was like, I literally don't feel it. It was the strangest thing ever, and I'm like, I'm putting this thing in there, and I don't feel it. I guess it's just because it's so small. I don't know.
Yeah, but you still look at that needle, and you're like, ooh, I have to put that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
The first couple of times, I think I thought about that, and then when I recognized that, like I don't really notice anything. Okay, this isn't really that bad. So if I have to do it every day, it's just not really a thing for me there.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, I love that. So why would people get on this one? The human growth hormone? Is it just like, hey, I'm just trying to put on a little bit more muscle, or like what usually leads people to come and say, hey, I want to try these?
So there's dual purpose in growth hormone, right?
Okay.
Growth hormone can help you build muscle and actually burn fat at the same time. Okay. And if you are in a calorie deficit, you're trying to lose weight, it will actually help you maintain your muscle mass while you're losing weight in calorie deficit. So it's almost like a little cheat code in that sense, right? You could eat well under your calories 500-600 calories below your basal maintenance calories and maintain all your muscle mass while on growth hormone peptides.
That's awesome. 'Cause it is hard to maintain that sometimes if you had a big calorie deficit.
Yeah, traditionally you'll lose 30% of your total weight will be muscle, right? And the growth hormone peptides, you won't lose any.
So with these, is it something where you mentioned the break that, hey, you go on maybe for 5 days, take a couple days off. Is it something where you take this for maybe a couple of months and then you're off, then maybe try another couple months later on? Like, how does that part
Correct.
work?
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. I usually have a cycle of 60 to 75 days that will run the growth hormone peptides.
Okay.
And then we'll take 4 to 6 weeks off and then resume. And that just allows your body some time to recoup and settle down and relax. Because we don't want to always hyperstimulate the pituitary.
Okay.
And we'll just let it do its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you typically see in that 60-day period or so? I'm sure it's different for so many people.
On the growth hormone? Yeah. So on the growth hormone, oftentimes people will see, if they're not in calorie deficit, they'll see a pound or two of muscle mass gain. And they'll see 2 or 3 pounds of fat loss.
Okay. In the same time. Wow, that's
changing nothing else in their lifestyle or diet. It'll just do that. They'll see that change.
What risks or side effects should people understand with this one? This type of hormone?
So growth hormone is a growth hormone. Okay, right? That's what it does. It helps things grow. Excess growth hormone has the potential to feed tumors. So if you have a tumor in your body, some of them are growth hormone consuming tumors, right? And so if you give your body extra, potentially you could grow a tumor very quickly.
Okay.
Right. They also can grow extremities. So especially if you're doing standard growth hormone, oftentimes not as much as in the peptide world, but it can make your nose big, make your ears big, make your fingers big, make your feet big.
Okay.
So you have to be really careful about it. So if you look back and over the decades, you see some of the bodybuilders and it's like change the face structure quite a bit. Their jaw will really start to protrude down. Their nose will get really thick.
Okay.
See the pores heavier in their nose. And that's all growth hormone driven.
So is that one that they used to take is different than some of the peptides that exist now?
Yeah. They were actually just doing omnitrope, which is growth hormone. And they were superseding natural production, natural levels quite a bit. But again, some of these people that I have excellent response to the growth hormone peptides, and their growth hormones are very high. I'll see IGF-1 levels, which is a great way to help understand how the peptides are working, that are in the 300s and 400s, which is fantastic. But that's putting you at that potential for that excessive growth.
Got it.
Of extremities for sure.
So just to make sure I understand the difference, is some of what they were taking was actual growth hormone, and the peptides will stimulate your body's production of growth hormone.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can say exogenous growth hormone, which is growth hormone that's from outside your body going in. And we're just doing endogenous stimulation. Okay.
I like that. That makes a little more sense. Any others that come to mind as far as the side effects and what the risks or anything like that?
So some of the other peptides or growth hormone peptides like CJC1295 they're great. I love them. They have about a 30-minute push on the growth hormone. So it's kind of an in-betweener. And but it has a potential side effect. Some people get short of breath. Some people get flushed in the face with that one. And over time use, so if they don't take the time off that's allotted, they can get what's called an antigenic effect. So they'll start getting almost like an allergy to it. And
interesting.
Yeah, so you'll get hives all over your body. Your hands will get itchy. Maybe you get some of the swelling in the throat. And so it can be pretty serious. And so that's why you want to make sure you're using a provider, practitioner to help you manage through all these potential side effects. And really make sure you're on the right dose and the right duration.
And that dose is that figured by, you had mentioned that monitoring the levels of I guess, the growth hormone that's in the body. Is that what
Yeah, so we do a
okay.
few measurements in blood work, as well as there's some body mass calculations we can do as well to get dosing into the right amounts for each individual. I see it online all the time where they're like, "Oh, take this much of Tesamorelin," and they sell people, a 10 milligram vial, and the 10 milligram vial is going to last them 30 plus days, but they're underdosing,
Mm.
right? Because they're just trying to sell a product, right?
Okay.
Instead of giving them the proper dose and the proper amounts. And so it gets challenging when you're just following some of the bro science online,
Okay.
because you'll either chronically underdose or severely overdose pretty easily.
Mm.
Um, Ipamorelin, the other one that we were talking about, it also can cause some of that flushing in the face and shortness of breath. That's not a big problem as long as it goes away immediately after, 10, 15 minutes and it starts to subside. That's pretty standard with Ipamorelin.
Is that kind of like, I feel like that if I do NAD, just a slight.
Similar, but a little bit more like your face will be bright red.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. And you don't feel as junky as NAD. NAD, you just feel like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
give me a minute.
It
Right?
gets you for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't feel as rough, but you just feel that really red, hot face. And people say, "Are you okay?"
Okay.
Yeah. My wife always like, "Your face is really red. Did you take that shot again?" Yep. Yeah. So you can't hide that one. But it's great. It's a really, really good growth hormone peptide. That one actually has like a 2-hour push. So it's pretty good.
Mhm.
It's just not as potent as, say, the Tesamorelin, right? But it's a good push.
Okay. Do we know? I mean, I don't know how new these are, how long they've been out, but do we have any data on like long-term effects? Is there anything we know about that?
Yeah. So they've been out for quite a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, decades. They've been researched. You can go on the government NIH website
Mhm.
and you can search these peptides up. They have ample data on each one of these peptides. A lot of them will be mixed between animal studies and a few human studies.
Okay.
And that's where it gets stuck, is there's way more animal evidence than there is human evidence
Mm-hmm.
for support. But what we've been able to really see is clinical benefit. And clinical benefit, to me, far outweighs any research-based benefit that might come. So if people are getting the clinical benefit out of it that they're desiring,
Yeah.
then it's well worth it.
Yeah. I like that. I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to talk about the healing and recovery peptides,
Oh yeah.
because it sounds like there's several of those as well. What are the major ones that are in this category?
Yeah. BPC 157,
Okay.
that's body protective compound 157, or pentadecapeptide is another term for BPC that's circulating around. Really good. TB 500, and the other name for that is thymosin beta 4.
Okay.
And you'll see those interchanged quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Thymosin beta 4 and TB 500. Okay. And then we have things like KPV, and we have even GHK copper peptide, which can be healing as well.
Okay.
Have you heard of GHK copper
I have
peptide
not.
yet?
No, I've heard of the TB, and then I've heard of the BPC because I've tried the BPC 157. But no, tell me about it. What is this one?
Yeah, so GHK copper peptide is a copper peptide. So oftentimes, even in the injectable form, well, it should look blue.
Okay.
Right. So it's really weird. You're injecting yourself with blue serum, kind of like Dune, I guess. Drinking the water of life.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's blue, and there's a lot of quality anti-inflammatory data on GHK copper peptide. People put it on their face, and it helps reduce inflammation in the skin and tissue topically. People are using it in their hair, and it's reducing the inflammatory response from some of the issues with hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
And people are seeing good results with that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the ways people use it. Other people do the microneedling application with GHK, and they see collagen formation improve in the skin. So it's really cool. But outside of that, in injectable form, it has other immune system benefits as well, and some other healing benefits with collagen, which is like connective tissue. Right?
Yeah. So why would you use one over the other? So like, you know, I'm sure they all serve a different purpose, maybe like BPC 157, and then the other was TV 100,
500.
500.
Yeah, yeah.
TV 500. You can see I'm a rookie at this stuff. I'm trying to learn. That's why we got AJ here.
Yeah.
So if you look at those different options, like why would somebody use one over the other?
Sure. TB500 has some crossover similarities to BPC 157.
Okay.
They both promote angiogenesis. That's blood vessel formation through a pathway called VEGF. And we don't need to get into tons of details about that, but other than it helps grow blood vessels. Oftentimes what we see in the animal studies mostly is those blood vessels that are growing grow to injury and trauma. So if you have like arthritis of the knee, like in the animal studies, they were seeing those blood vessels push blood into those areas that are injured or traumatized from anything, right? It could be chronic or acute.
Okay.
And blood carries the healing peptides of life, because there's other peptides outside of this that help your body heal, right?
Okay.
And so these peptides are promoting your body's ability to heal itself, right? That's what they do. And so BPC, TV, blood flow to injury and trauma, and then your body with growth factors and other things, fibrinogens and things from the platelets really help your body heal itself well.
Okay.
And it's really cool that your body can do this. Right? You think of babies, infants, little children, like they heal so quick from injuries, right? It's like they hit their head and they have this big old bruise and 2 days later it's gone.
Yeah.
But if you hit your head, it'd be there for weeks.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And that's just the body's ability to heal itself when it's in a much younger state. And we're really putting these natural peptides that your body's making, we're just putting them into higher amounts for short periods of time, and it's stimulating the pathways for healing.
So are the amounts in our body just kind of lower as we age as opposed to when they're
exceptionally low?
Okay.
Yeah, like BPC 157, it originates in the gut around where the stomach and the intestines meet.
Okay.
And they really help heal the gut quite nicely. So in oral form, like we see people with ulcers get better. Clinically, I've seen that a lot, or healing all the way down through their entire GI system. Could potentially heal even some of the big things like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. We see huge benefits there too. And they're studying a lot of this, but not to a point where that's going to be like fully FDA approved.
Okay.
It's always going to be in this gray world, right? Even if the feds approve prescription production of these in more pharmacies, like it'll still be pretty gray because there's no FDA approval. Right?
Got it. So from what I understood there, and I just want to make sure I've got this correct, if there's some tissue that's damaged, that can help increase the blood flow to that damaged area.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. And then you mentioned something about the production of blood vessels.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how that helps. I'm a rookie.
So that's how the blood gets there.
Okay.
Right? So like a joint has actually terrible blood flow, right? There's not good blood flow into the joint itself, right? And so your body has the ability to create blood vessels. It's doing it all the time.
Okay.
BPC 157, TB 500 really drive that blood vessel formation. And so then there's more availability of blood to those traumatized areas to help clear toxins and bring in the growth factors that help heal your body.
Is that why those areas take so long to heal? They just don't have as much blood flow?
Yep.
Okay.
That's why we're like, oh, put ice on it first, but then we want lots of heat, because heat opens up blood vessels, really drives the blood flow to that area.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So there, like you think about this, there's a lot of crossover between traditional medicine and even peptides, how they work, right? We're doing things in traditional medicine oftentimes to help your body do its thing, right?
Yeah.
But they just don't understand the whole process of it. So
right. I mean, when you explain it like that, it kind of seems more simple about like you understand healing needs blood to go through there to heal it.
Yep.
And if we're increasing that and giving it the tools to kind of help, it makes sense it would heal faster.
Yeah, because it's not the BPC. Yeah, the BPC is just the trigger for your body to heal itself, right? It's not the BPC healing you.
Okay.
It's not the TB500 healing your body. It's the trigger that's setting your body in motion to heal itself.
Just kind of a signal.
Yeah.
Type thing.
And these have very short half-lives as well. So, I mean, you get 30 minutes of pathway stimulation when you inject these healing peptides.
Mm-hmm.
And then essentially they're untraceable in your body, right? They're gone.
Yeah.
But the stimulated pathway will continue to do its thing for hours and hours and hours.
Are those something that you take at night or in the morning, or does it matter?
It really doesn't matter on the growth or on the healing peptides.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know I have a little bit of an experience with BPC 157.
Yeah.
I don't really so much on the others, but it did an amazing job for me. I'd injured my back recently. I really injured it about a decade ago, plus ago, and I have a little bit of a tear. And sorry, I'm not very familiar with some of the words around this, but there's a tear in it. And so occasionally I'll do something stupid, and it hurts me for, sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a month, and I don't know that particular one. I don't know how long this one's going to last. Well, recently I had the bright idea that if I got more flexible, I was going to solve this problem for me. And so I'm doing these stretches, trying to get more flexible. I ended up pushing it a little too hard.
Yeah.
Which I learned was not a good thing. And so I expected to just be down a day or two. And I was like, okay, I was just stretching. I wasn't lifting anything heavy.
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks later, I'm still struggling to get out of bed. I'm like, what the heck? And so I had heard about BPC 157. I didn't really understand it much, but somebody had mentioned to me about how there's not a lot of blood flow, I guess, that goes there either in that particular area. I don't know.
Of your back. Like your spine is a joint in itself, right? Between each vertebrae.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I was like, I will try anything right now. I can't get out of bed. This is starting to affect me a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I injected it, not thinking anything of it. And the next day I got out of bed, and I was like, I mean, I still felt sore, but it wasn't that same really strong pain that I'd had before.
Yeah.
And then by the next day, I was like, I was improving so much faster.
Yep.
And then after a couple of weeks, I was like, my back right now feels better than it has in the last decade. And I'm like, this is so strange. And so that's partly why I'd reached out, trying to learn more about these peptides. Because at that point in time, I was like, I'm willing to try anything. I'm just going to see what it is. And I just found such a big benefit from it. Yeah.
And there's so much variability in the rate of healing.
Okay.
But we see this quite often, right? And so your body heals itself relatively quickly if we just think about it. Like it's still 6 months for some injuries, right?
Sure.
But it still heals very well overall. But BPC, sometimes I see like a 50% reduction in healing time. And I had a gentleman, this is a fun one. He is an avid mountain biker, and was going off the jump and ate it really hard. And the handlebars came in, separated his rib, and contused or bruised his liver. And we checked his labs. His liver enzymes were through the roof from the trauma. And he was hurting. He could barely breathe. Didn't break any ribs, luckily, when we did x-ray, but we started him on around a BPC 157, and ribs are usually 6 weeks before they're better. Like you go 6 weeks and then all of a sudden they get better. But 3 weeks in, like his ribs, he could breathe great. He's like, I want to check my liver enzymes and see how they're doing since I can breathe so well. And the rib don't hurt anymore. And we checked his liver enzymes and they were all the way back down to normal in 3 weeks. And that is, unheard of in traditional medicine. We see elevated liver enzymes. It takes months for high liver enzymes to return back to baseline, right? And so there's a great one. Huge example, rapid recovery. Other things like big joints, like knees, oftentimes it's a slow progressive improvement over that 30 to 60 day time frame, because these ones can cycle as well.
Okay.
And we'll do a 60-day to 70-day cycle of the healing peptides. But again, oftentimes it's like that week to 2 weeks in, you're like, oh, I think I feel tons better. And then it just keeps progressively getting better because the body's healing itself at a much more rapid rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, does the time, I guess, that you prescribe, does that vary depending on the energy, or is it typically like a 60-day dose?
So we'll stop at 60 no matter what in that range within a few days, right?
Okay.
And just give your body some time off. I'll even do the 5 days on, 2 days off with the healing peptides as well. Again, we're just letting your body settle down a little bit from the stimulation, right? And I feel like we're going to get longer term, better benefit if we just give our body these micro breaks in between. And you'll still get the healing benefits all the way throughout. But again, we're just giving your body that time to recover.
Okay. So if BPC 157, it sounds like it's good for a lot of those things. Is there, for the TB 500, is there like does that just help the body heal a different way, or is there a different problem you would solve with that one?
In a slightly different fashion, there's an additional benefit of more inflammation reduction through a few different pathways than BPC.
Okay.
They both promote the blood vessel growth and formation, but the TB 500 has some more anti-inflammatory benefits. So that's reducing some of the inflammatory cytokines like IL-6, TNF alpha. Again, these are big, heavy duty terms, but they're just inflammatory markers in our body and the bloodstream that we can actually visualize. So it helps reduce those inflammation markers.
So do you sometimes stack those peptides, or are they separate?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Combination therapies is where we really see the benefit. There are some stacks that don't work well together, but BPC, TB 500, fantastic. KPV, the other healing one, is more of an anti-inflammatory as well. Very, very good. It doesn't have any of the blood vessel formation, but it has pretty solid anti-inflammatory benefits that we can see throughout the entire body. But yeah, you can stack those three really nicely together and get potent inflammation reduction. So someone, say, maybe has, severe osteoarthritis, right? They could potentially get some great benefit out of these to help reduce even just their ability to walk around.
Wow.
Right?
So if you're stacking them and there's 3 different ones, is that 3 different injections?
Actually, I have a pharmacy, a compounding pharmacy, that's making a pharmaceutical grade triple combo for me.
Okay.
And they do the dual, the BPC and TB 500 as well in combo. But we can also do them individually. It's up to everybody how they want to proceed. If you want to do 3 injections or you want to do 1 injection.
Okay.
Right. If you're like really heavy into it, you just want the maximum benefit, right? You're going to do all 3.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's interesting. I love that. So really quick, you just mentioned something about pharmaceutical grade. When we had talked a little bit on the phone a while ago, and you mentioned that there's different grades of this and different things if you order some online. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
What are we seeing out there?
Yeah. So most common that's available is research grade.
Okay.
And it is a completely unregulated arm in manufacturing.
Okay.
And there's no FDA oversight. I'm not a huge FDA fan. But as far as like quality, efficacy, dosing measurements, there's some good checks and balances within the FDA for those types of things, right? So when they go into a manufacturing facility of medication, drugs and medications, they go in there and they'll do lot testing and make sure everything's good. Right? And they have very sophisticated technology to make sure it's very clean and pure. Right? The research companies, most of these are based in China, where they're getting most of their raw material. And some of them I think are pretty reputable. You can find the right research brands. If they have the right C of A, certificate of analysis, from a reputable lab that's doing their third-party testing, probably an okay product, right? But you have to do your own research on that to figure that out. I can't recommend one research brand over another, but I have personally looked around and I've seen these research labs and they say, oh, here's our C of A. They come to me all the time and say, hey, sell our product in your office. And their C of A is some off-market third-party testing from China. You look them up, there's no data. You can't find that brand of lab anywhere.
Yeah.
So likely it's fake, right? Still might be a good product. I don't know. But, it's pretty risky. So you have to be really careful when you're buying these things online. Make sure you're doing ample research to know that their C of A is legit and their product's clean and pure. Because if they're not clean and pure, they could be tainted with lead. Because we've seen that. The FDA has come down and picked up, knocked down a few of the online research labs lately. And because they're tainted, you have all sorts of different things in them. They don't have what they claim in them. So it's pretty risky. The biggest risk, I think, with most research ones are lipopolysaccharides, which are inflammatory byproducts. And you're injecting these, and we're trying to reduce inflammation, and these cause inflammation in the fatty tissue, right? Pharmaceutical grade, again, there's only 4 or 5 pharmacies in the whole country that are really operating at a very high risk category because they shouldn't be producing these per the FDA, but are FDA registered facilities, and they're still making some in small amounts. And so we can get prescription grade, pharmaceutical grade peptides. For the most part. Some are not completely available. Say like MK677 is not available really through the pharmaceutical arm. The other one that's really common out online is the not for human consumption peptides. Animal grade, right? And again, you might find a great online supplier and they might have a great C of A from a good reputable lab. Might be worth trying, right? But anybody that's going to do these has to do their research on that. But yeah, if you were looking for prescription pharmaceutical grade, you're going to get clean, verifiable peptides. That's the difference between pharmaceutical versus research versus not for human consumption.
I was wondering about that because I know when I look online, you just see it's all over the place, right? There's a million websites, and some of them will say that, and then I talk to people out here, and it's like the pharmaceutical grade, and it kind of makes sense, like that making sure that the quality is there, purity is that purity.
Yeah, purity and potency, right? Because it could be 99.9% pure, but does that 10 milligram vial have 10 milligrams of peptide in it?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit again, because there's another one that's kind of becoming popular, and that is the ones that are related to metabolism and weight loss.
Yeah.
So which peptides will fall into this category?
So the GLP-1 peptides.
Right,
so that's semaglutide, Tirzepatide, and really popular right now is retatrutide. Everywhere online, I've seen every influencer in the world hitting retatrutide like crazy. Even bodybuilders are using retatrutide, and I think it's pretty effective. But essentially, that is their GLP-1s are glucagon-like peptides. Right? That's what GLP-1 stands for. And we think there's different functions of these, and they work primarily in 3 ways. They work on the gut, they work on the liver, and the pancreas. And then, side note, they work in the brain. And there are GLP-1 receptors in your brain. That's pretty neat. And the way they work is they reduce your appetite by slowing your digestion. They improve liver digestion and help clear fat from the liver and make the liver work more efficiently. So then the liver can actually do its job and metabolize glucose more effectively instead of store it as fat. That's where most of our fat is coming from, is fat storage. After we've filled our whole body full of glycogen, that's the sugar storage, the body has to eliminate it somewhere. It tries to urinate some out, and it tries to get the insulin to do its job, but oftentimes people are insulin resistant. So then it's storing sugar as fat. Right? And so it helps that process work better. So you're not storing as much sugar as fat. It improves glycogen storage. So then we're not over storing and then storing as fat again. Helps the liver produce better insulin more effectively. We see insulin resistance go down, and this is verifiable in blood work, really easy. A side note on these, like in the brain, they said it has the receptors in the brain.
Yeah.
We see huge reductions in dopamine response from food. So, when you're walking,
interesting.
when you're driving by on Red Cliff Drive and you smell Cold Stone, you smell the waffles, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, that smells so good. You're like, I'm going to go stop and get a Cold Stone ice cream. That's dopamine.
Okay.
Right. And so it changes the way dopamine works in your brain, and it doesn't stimulate that as much. So people complain of what's called food noise. I don't know if you've heard people say,
I haven't, no.
Kills my food noise. And so there's people that just think about eating all day long.
Really?
Right.
I have the opposite. I always forget to eat, and I'm like, shoot, I gotta eat.
Yeah. And so that really improved that food noise for a lot of people because it's changing that relationship with dopamine and food response. So you could even eat your favorite food on these shots, and oftentimes you won't get the gratification that you used to. Like if you're an ice cream lover and you're on these shots, you take a bite of ice cream, you're like, it just doesn't taste as good as it used to, and you won't even eat your whole bowl. You'll be full, number one, but you just have that feeling where, again, don't need it today.
Yeah.
Right. So there are some really good benefits for some people that really struggle with food in this category. There's step-ups, right? Semaglutide, the original, in the weekly dosing. Tirzepatide, it's a step-up, has a second modulator called a GIP.
Okay.
And then the retatrutide is a triple G, so it has a glucagon agonist in addition to. So each step is quite a bit better.
Okay.
The retatrutide in current studies is showing better muscle maintenance than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Changing nothing, right? If you change your diet and you eat lots of protein, we don't see a lot of muscle loss anyway with these shots.
Okay.
But if you just do everything the same and you lose weight, we see a fair amount of muscle loss in the semaglutide category and the tirzepatide category. And if you're a terrible eater, you still lose 30 or 40 pounds, but half of it might be muscle.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Where retatrutide, we don't see that as much.
Okay.
Minimal fat and muscle loss. They're really cool.
Is this just a newer version of it? Like a version modified? Is that okay?
Yeah, it just finished its phase 3 trial for weight loss last year, and it's very favorable, very, very effective, very safe. The safety studies have been done for years. They just did mass trials and finished those. Right now they're doing it for knee arthritis improvement. Those should finish here soon. So the retatrutide is likely going to be favorable for improvements in knee arthritis, mostly because of inflammation reduction.
Okay.
All these weight loss peptides reduce inflammation as well.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a fat signaling issue because fat is naturally inflammatory, right? We don't understand the whole process, but it's likely related to the fat reductions that we're seeing is why inflammation is going down. Yeah.
So what would cause, I have a friend that's done some, I've seen some success stories, and then he had done some, I think it was the middle one, the
Tirzepatide?
Yes. So he had done that one and started to see some results, and then it kind of tapered off. What would cause something like that?
They will all work to a point.
Okay.
Right. And in the studies, most of these are on obese people with diabetes, and semaglutide people lose 18% of their body weight over about a year.
Okay.
Tirzepatide's around 20, 21%, maybe 22%, depending on what part of the study we're looking at.
Okay.
And then, retatrutide's 28% within a year, right? You lose 28% of your body weight.
Okay.
And people will sometimes hit that plateau. So if you're in a similar position like the people in the studies where they don't really change lifestyle, they don't change their diet and the way they're eating or improve their protein intake like they should, they oftentimes will plateau, right? Sometimes it's the API. So this API is where the pharmacy's getting their tirzepatide from. Maybe it's just not as high of a quality of tirzepatide, even within the pharmacy world, right? Still tirzepatide, it just may not be perfect. right? And so we can see that it could be dosing. Maybe they're on the wrong dose for them.
Okay.
They need a higher amount. So there's little things that really go a long way when you're taking the weight loss peptides, make them very, very effective. Right.
So you'll get some benefit if you do absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
you'll get a magnified benefit if you do something. Do you notice that when people start seeing some results that it kind of motivates them to start adding activity and
Correct.
doing those
Yeah.
things?
So our goal at Copper Rock Clinic, what we do is we sit them down, we analyze their body mass, fat and muscle mass ratios, and we sit down and just have a hard talk about food and the relationship with food, because weight loss is 70% food, right? It's what you're eating is what's killing you, right? And so we have to really understand where they're at emotionally with food to make them get them to the point where they can move forward. The shot is a tool for us to change habits, right? And people that aren't changing their habits, they'll plateau. And then they'll go off the shot and they'll regain their weight because they've never changed the habit that made them that way, right? So our whole goal is to change habits with these shots, get people to the point where they feel comfortable around food and not eating in excess, and then eating the right food.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm sure you eat a pretty high protein diet, right?
For sure.
Yeah. The goal, and I'm so glad RFK's changed the food pyramid, whatever you want to call it now.
Okay.
Protein is essential. You have to have protein in your diet. If you don't eat protein, your body will eat itself. It'll take protein from your muscle and its amino acids, right? So the goal is a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So you need that to maintain what you have.
Yeah.
Okay? So if people aren't eating that and they're on these shots, they'll lose some muscle for sure. But if they eat a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, they do a little bit of weightlifting, they do a little bit of cardio. You don't even have to do that in excess, it's just some, right? They'll have fantastic results and they'll well supersede that 20 to 28% body weight loss, right? Easy. I've had patients lose 35, 40% of their total body weight.
Wow.
People in the upper,
That's life-changing for them.
upper 300s and they lose 100 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Just amazing. And if they make the right changes, it will last.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's he's kind of brought me into a little bit of this world, and he was at one point in time 300 pounds, and now he's like 6% body fat or so, and it's just such an incredible transition to see. It was over the course of a couple of years,
Sure.
but I think it's shown up as well in just how he approaches things in life now, right? Just kind of going through that and be like, okay, I can do all these things, and so it's been incredible.
And 85, 90% of it's nutrition, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get there. And these shots just help people really dial in their nutrition. That's where these peptides shine, right? And if you use it correctly.
Yeah.
We believe in accountability in the clinic, and we have some people that we make come in once a week for the shot. So we can keep them accountable. We can keep an eye on them and encourage them as well, continue improving their diet and their nutrition throughout the phase, because they just can't do it on their own.
Yeah.
Right. And so accountability is really important as well. So
I love that. Are there people who absolutely should not take peptides?
yeah, actually I ran into a guy just barely, like he has a condition where he already makes too many blood vessels and it reduces his ability to heal because his body parts have too much blood in them. So they get congested. Right?
Okay.
So clearly this gentleman, woman, whatever, they can't take some of these peptides to help grow more blood vessels because it would make your problem worse. Right?
Oh, okay.
So there are some people with different autoimmune conditions that might not qualify for certain peptides.
Okay.
If you have active cancer, wouldn't be a great idea to take growth hormone peptides.
Yeah. Give the cancer cells some fuel.
Yeah. It's like oxygen to fire, right?
Yeah.
You just grow nicely for you, but you don't want that.
Yeah.
Right. So there are some people that fit into these little subcategories where it wouldn't be great for them. As far as like these other peptides, like the immune system benefit peptides and mitochondrial peptides, yeah, there's not a lot of people that wouldn't qualify for those.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are just, again, helping your body do things that they're already doing, but better.
Okay.
So I guess they all do that, but there are a few that are risky. Right? Yeah, I would even put BPC potentially. This is a theoretical issue that Andrew Huberman lab brought up one time, that BPC, because it grows blood vessels, could grow blood vessels to cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so then you're giving cancer more nutrition as well. And so that is a theoretical possibility. There's no evidence of that yet, but it is possible.
Yeah. How important is like medical supervision and like testing while you're doing peptides?
You know, if you're trying to optimize your life, you should be doing blood work. That's just the way it is.
Okay.
Like you want to do things that are going to make you better, healthier. You need to be doing blood work. You need to be analyzing and comparing lab to lab over time to see how things are improving and getting better. That's part of health optimization and longevity. Like that's just what you should be doing. Right? Willy-nilly taking things into your body without making sure your body is capable. And say you have severe kidney disease, you take some of these, you're taking them every day, you're going to get an overabundance of those peptides in your body. They're not going to metabolize out appropriately, and you could cause some major issues, right? And so blood work is absolutely necessary if you're doing health optimization.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that are doing it, right? And you just want to make sure you have that baseline and then periodic checks, make sure things are looking good and progressing the way you want to see them progress.
Got it. If we look ahead 10 to 20 years, where do you think peptide therapy is going?
Yeah, I hope it becomes more mainstream, right? COVID really threw a wrench in healthcare and got people thinking this maybe isn't the only way to do things, right? And it really opened up the world of functional and integrative medicine. And because people were seeing results and benefits and getting better, right? Yeah. In functional medicine or integrative medicine, we'll use ivermectin, where traditional medicine's like, you can't touch it, right? And ivermectin can be really good. And peptides fit within that integrative functional medicine world really well. And so that's, again, part of the reason they're so popular is because people are pulling away from traditional medicine because of all the issues surrounding COVID. Right. And that's why it's here. And I think we're seeing true benefits to the point where people can see with their own eyes that it's worth it. They work. Things are changing for them. They're changing for their family members. And I hope we see more and more benefits. I mean, there's more peptides being researched. Again, your body has 3,000 plus that we know of, right? In your body.
Yeah.
We've scratched the surface of a few. I have maybe 30 at my disposal available, right? So there's so many more that we could research and bring in and start to use and utilize. It's really, really fun.
So we might find more over the course of time that'll just have benefits for us.
Oh yeah.
We got to figure those out. But
there's so many studies on a lot of these peptides as well. If you just research on NIH, just type in the peptide and you'll just get handfuls of studies on these.
Yeah.
They're there. You can decide for yourself based on those studies what you think you might be able to do, right? And then again, if you can get with a medical provider that is well versed in peptides, there's several of us here in town that actually have peptides through their clinics. And if they're well versed on those, then you're going to get the best benefit out of those peptides.
Got it. If someone is watching this right now and they're kind of curious about peptides, what's the best way for them to approach that? Where would they start?
Yeah, just looking for good reputable sources on YouTube. I love YouTube.
Okay.
In here, like Jay Campbell is a pretty good guy that knows a lot about.
He's on
peptides.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of bodybuilder guy from back in the day, big into testosterone. He pushes a brand because he's affiliated with them, but you don't have to use his brand of peptides, right? But he has a lot of knowledge on it. He has a peptide book that's available even on Audible you can listen to. James Lavalle is a really, really good. He's a clinical pharmacist.
Okay.
And he has been in the longevity scene for 45 years, right? He has a clinic at Cleveland Clinic, a traditional medicine facility, and they let him do whatever he wants.
Okay.
Right. And he has a really good book called the Peptide Handbook. And it's in its second edition now. And pretty hard to get, but I have one.
All right.
Yeah. And he's great. I've been to many of his conferences where he's speaking, and you can just learn so much from people that have that knowledge base. He does the research. Like he's got his name all over research articles everywhere.
And his name was James
Jim Lavalle.
Jim Lavalle.
Yeah. Like it almost looks like Lavelle. It says Lavalle.
Okay. Got it.
Really cool guy too. Again, very well versed in everything. I glean a lot of my information from him.
Okay.
I have a small affiliation with a group that he is a part of as well.
Yeah.
And so I go to some of his meetings where he trains.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. That's awesome.
But there are several out there. Just make sure that they have enough subscribers and their videos have lots of views. That's in one way I see it. It's kind of like a Google star.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're like knowing, okay, they have plenty of subscribers and they have plenty of viewers. Because there's a lot of junk out there too.
For sure.
So that's how I look at it.
Okay. So what can you tell me about, so NAD plus? I know I've heard that's not a peptide.
But it's a peptide modulator in a sense. Okay.
So tell me a little bit about that one, because I know that's pretty, it's getting kind of popular as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to fall into these categories.
Really popular during COVID. Like people were doing these NAD IV pushes, and they'd have COVID one day and 2 days later it'd be gone, right, with NAD. Really, really cool the way it modulates the mitochondria.
Okay.
So NAD is your most abundant vitamin essentially, because it's just a B vitamin within the mitochondrial space.
Okay.
And as we age, our NAD levels go down significantly. It's not something we can just consume fruits and vegetables with tons of NAD in it and our body make it, right? So NAD has to be made, and our body just doesn't make it very well as we age.
Okay.
Right? And so if we give ourselves NAD, the mitochondria function better. Mitochondria produce ATP. ATP is how we move. Everything energy-wise comes from ATP, switching over to ADP, and then going back into the mitochondrial Krebs cycle. And make ATP again, and that's where NAD plus is integral in making ATP. So that's where NAD plus fits in, and it fits in really well with some of the mitochondrial enhancing peptides that help our body helps our body make more mitochondria or turn over the bad mitochondria and recycle them and get more fresh, available, functioning mitochondria better. And so that's when you'd want to do NAD plus with it. There's NR, niacinamide riboside now. That is a precursor NAD that is better absorbed and passes into the cell more effectively. And then the cell converts it back into NAD. So that's an option too. People are taking oral NR and they take oral NMN, niacinamide mononucleotide. NMN. And so those are the two popular oral versions. Some people claim, liposomal NAD, and that'll help get the NAD into your system better. But really what you want is the precursors. So as it goes in, it can be built, right? So NAD that you take IV, that makes you feel really terrible when you're on the NAD drip. Your body's actually going to break it down into NR or NMN. It's going to go into the cell wall, through the cell wall, into the cell, and then be remade into NAD. Yeah. But cool stuff. I love it. Anytime I'm getting
what does that
sick, I'd take it.
And why would somebody take NAD? Because I know I've heard of something that some people have said, hey, it helps with your energy. I haven't really done a lot of research on it, but I know there's quite a few people on it. Like, why would somebody go and take NAD?
I use it mostly for my immune health. In life, when I'm feeling sick, I really start doing some NAD.
Okay.
You can even do microdose injections, subcutaneous,
Okay.
with NAD as well.
Okay.
Instead of doing the big 500 milligram drip all at once, you can break it over the week into micro injections.
Okay.
So that's a possibility. But so immunity, if you're sick, it helps you definitely, your cells start firing better, you start making more energy, and your body just gets better from illness quicker, for sure. So like flu, COVID, flu's been really terrible this year, right? And lots of people with flu A. NAD can be very, very beneficial in healing from that and overcoming it. And then energy for sure. And then just overall wellness. The more NAD you have, the more just the general feeling of wellness that you'll have for sure.
Okay. Do you cycle on and off of that as well?
You
Or
don't
is it
have
just as
to.
needed?
You don't have to. Oftentimes what people will do is they'll do a building regimen where they'll take 500 milligrams of NAD every 2 or 3 days, 5 times. So they'll take a high dose of NAD and they'll do that once a year and then maintain with oral supplements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about it. I've heard some of those things, and I did try it. I didn't really feel much of a difference with it.
Sure.
So I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, I need to learn about how this works, what it actually does. I mean, I've heard about it helping the cells.
All of these peptides are challenging in a sense because sometimes you're already optimized. You're already firing on all cylinders. You're doing well.
Okay.
And so if you're doing well and you're taking something that's supposed to help you do well, you may not notice it at all, right?
Okay, that makes
doing
sense.
well.
Okay.
So that can
Probably why you need a blood test, maybe.
Yeah. And we see that again with some of the other mitochondrial ones. There's one called MOTS-C.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that one? So capital MOT dash little S C.
Okay.
And it helps your body improve mitochondrial function. They call it exercise in a bottle, right?
Okay.
Because exercise improves mitochondrial function just by itself. Yeah. So if you are already fit and exercising, exercise in a bottle is not going to help you a whole lot.
That makes sense. Okay.
But if you are a starter, you're not doing anything and you just struggle because you wear out so quickly, then MOTS-C might be a good option to help improve that mitochondrial function and get you into the gym better and working out and exercising.
Okay. That makes sense. Because when I tried NAD, I was like, I feel great all the time. My energy levels are great. And I was like, I'll try it just for the heck of it and see what it does. And then I was like, well, I still feel great. I didn't feel greater, right? I still felt great. And so that makes
great.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But again, like if you feel like an illness is coming on, you just feel like you might be getting sick, a little NAD, you'll get over it quick.
Wow.
Okay. The body just sucks it all up and utilizes it to improve your whole metabolic functions through the mitochondria.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. So where can people find you? You've got, what's the website?
CopperRockClinic.com.
CopperRockClinic.com. Kara, you want to pull that up really quick?
Yeah.
So is it your first step kind of typically doing the blood draw to kind of see where things are before you figure out, hey, what's going to work and what should we be looking at?
Yeah. So we look at a consultation to understand where people are in their health, what are their challenges and trials that they're dealing with health-wise, and then draw blood and do a follow-up visit to discuss the blood work and things that might be causing their issues or ailments and things that might be available for them to get better.
Okay.
And that could entail anything from nutritional deficiencies to hormone to peptides to weight loss.
Okay.
Maybe even gut health restoration. So people have a really bad microbiome in their gut.
Okay. Love that. And then when they go on here, they can book an appointment.
Yeah, they can book an appointment. There's buttons everywhere to book an appointment, right? And there's information in each little section where they can learn about different things like peptides, weight loss peptides and growth hormone peptides, and then hormones.
So when they book an appointment and they get to your office, what does that look like?
Yeah. So the first person you'll meet is Amber. She's up front. She's my receptionist and my nurse phlebotomist.
Okay.
And it's just a 2-person team, me and her.
Okay.
And we get things done. And We have, online paperwork, digital. So people come in, we take them right to the room.
Yeah.
There's no 15 minutes of paperwork or extra hip performance to sign because it's all done.
Okay.
Right. And so it's very quick usually. And we get them back in the room, do a little vital signs, blood pressure, height, weight, things like that. And then we're immediately talking within just a few minutes of them getting to the office. Right. And we take our time with our patients. We will spend an hour and a half if we need to.
Yeah.
Going over what's going on with them to try and understand.
Kind of just asking
their
questions
problems.
about symptoms that they're feeling. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I also like to just get to know people as well. Like what is driving them, their family, they have a job, what do they do? What are their stressors in life? Outside of, I feel like garbage, my shoulder hurts, I can't see well, my knee hurts, I'm angry all the time, and you name it, right? I see it. And so outside of that, I like to understand their environment.
Yeah.
Because that plays a pivotal role and sometimes in our decision making for treatment.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we do take just a lot of time.
Yeah. I love that. That makes sense. And then I guess blood draw, and then just that's when you start reviewing that stuff and figure out what's going to be best to.
Our blood work takes a few days to come back. And so we bring them back in and we'll spend another 30 to 45 minutes going over labs and potential treatment options.
Yeah. Love that.
And again, treatments could easily be vitamins, right? And I've seen people have great numbers everywhere except vitamin D and key B vitamins and then some inflammation markers that are elevated. We're like, hey, we do a few of these things. I think we can get you feeling better without excessive treatment.
Yeah.
Right.
Seems like it makes sense to do something like that rather than just taking it and trying it. It's like, what do you actually need?
Yeah. We're very foundational, right? So we look at things that are more foundational in your body. And if those are lacking first, we need to fix those before we try and do peptides.
Okay.
Right? Like if you have your foundation and it's terrible and you start building everything up above it, it's going to crumble, right?
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
So people come in and they're like, I want to do growth hormone peptides. I want growth hormone peptides because all my buddies are taking it.
Yeah.
And we start talking, we do some labs, check it out. Their testosterone's 200. Growth hormone is going to give them minimal benefit if their testosterone's 200.
Got
it. So we need to address why their testosterone's 200. Is it because of environment, lifestyle? Are they staying up late and waking up early or sleeping until 10 o'clock? And, all these different things that could be causing the testosterone to be low. We need to fix that first, right? It might include testosterone as a treatment, right?
Yeah.
If we've done everything else and it's still low, we may need testosterone therapies.
Yeah.
Then they'll get true benefits out of their peptides, right? They just won't see what they want out of the peptides if the foundation is bad. Right?
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
AJ, thanks so much. I mean, that was so much information. I love it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it because it's so good, and I'm curious about some of those different ones. And I've had just such a big benefit from the BPC, and so that kind of what led me down. I need to learn this stuff. It's so cool. But I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's been great. I love it.